Hey yo, welcome to another Dino Reacts. Man, today is wild. There is so much lies going on in the media about the Trump rally that happened on Thursday. Man, they won't like report it right. So right now I have an MSNBC clip and they're gonna talk about the rally. And I want you to see like how different it is compared to the news compared to the rally from Fox News, and just to see how I don't even know how to say it. Like, how do they just keep throwing out the propaganda in front of us when we can see it? But for once again, thank you guys for tuning into my content. Like, comment, and subscribe. And always, let's get after it.
Joining us now, NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns, who was there at this event. Chief strategist for the Bush-Cheney 2004 presidential campaign, Matthew Dowd, and former Obama campaign advisor, Amisha Cross. So Dasha, you were there last night. You heard it. You talked to the people who were in that crowd. How was his message received?
Well, this might sound a little counterintuitive, but I did talk to folks in that crowd who themselves were immigrants. A lot of folks from the Dominican Republic. A lot of people that I talked to were born and raised in the Bronx. For some of them, this was their first ever Trump event. And when you talk to immigrants that are going to these Trump rallies, they agree with his message on immigration. Their point is, look, I did it the right way. I came here legally, and especially those living in New York right now, the sentiment I heard from a lot of voters was, we have these immigrants right now that the city is taking care of in a way that I've never felt taken care of by this city. It was a large crowd and a diverse crowd. Yes, there were some people from Westchester, from New Jersey, but there were a lot of people there that were from the Bronx, Black and Latino voters that are sick of how much they're paying for gas and groceries, that are frustrated with the situation at the border, and that find President Biden's rhetoric when it comes to minority voters a little bit offensive. Take a listen.
Legal troubles. Does any of that worry you at all?
No, at all. I think he's going to be elected the president because everyone still wants him as the president. So to me, it doesn't matter.
Biden, they have disrespected the people of the city of New York. This was the best city in the world. We're not the great apple anymore. We're not the big apple. We are the rotten apple.
Biden went on the Charlemagne the God show and said, "You ain't black if you don't vote for him." I'm black because that's how I was born and what I am. And Trump is the man that can save this country. Period.
Well, that lets you know that the Democrats are talking to their constituents. That's pretty much all that's going to end up happening like right now. It's the simplest thing I can see. Like, she went out there, she's asking the same thing. She's going to go into the race trope. She's going to go into the Central Park Five. We all know the same angles they're going to use over and over again when it comes to talking fear and shame into people. But this is not going to work anymore. They were down there. She saw it with her own eyes. And this is the thing I was talking about yesterday when it comes to Donald Trump, why this is such a good look, regardless if he wins New York or not. It's just that the people don't feel heard. And then when the people feel heard by the people that don't want to help them, it becomes just this revolving cycle of just rot. Just like the dude just said, the rotten apple. They want to vote. They want to be a part of their communities. They want to be a part of the electoral process. So they keep hoping and believing in certain candidates that have been failing them. And now, me learning that Republicans don't even attempt to go into New York, it makes sense to me why heroes can't live in New York. Why, if somebody saves a woman on a subway out there, they get prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Why immigrants are getting off after robbing and stealing across the city, because the strong people have left. Straight up, the strong people have left. Let's go.
So interesting to talk to those voters, Anna, and multiple people actually mentioned that Charlemagne the God interview. I did press back with some of those folks, mentioning some of Trump's rhetoric that's been seen as racist and bigoted. They said they don't have a problem with that. They view his actions over his words in terms of what they feel he can do for their community. Again, the economy, those pocketbook issues, over and over again, top of the list.
Yeah, and definitely say another thing about that. The change and shift, I'm going to start saying it, especially when it comes to Democrat-ran neighborhoods, is that there's a slow growth in here of people questioning the representatives. Because there's one thing that a Democrat population cannot say, that conservatives don't take care of their own. You take yourself and you drive around any conservative area, especially here in Los Angeles, and they're a lot more cleaner than those areas that are run by Democrats. If you just look at conservative schooling, conservative child rearing, conservative families, just the respect between men and women when it comes to conservatives, the understanding of gender roles, and the importance of both sexes. It's all in line with God's plan over there. But if you take that and put it into the Democratic community, you see everything out of whack, everything in misalignment, because we are no longer being listened to. We are now basically back into the European feudal system when it comes to the Democratic Party, where there's lords and all the hierarchy at the top, and all of us are struggling at the bottom. And then you got these middle people, like I consider all these reporters, who want to not be left behind. They want to be left behind the money. They want to keep their morals, but since they don't want to leave the money behind, they're scratching onto the elites and willing to do whatever to stay in that club that keeps them away from being the people at the bottom. You can just tell by the fact that she's so concerned in her face right here, because it's the first time she's ever hearing that the people that she always thought that were her base are not her base anymore. And the small people are going to be like, what are you doing for my society? What are you doing for my community? Excuse me, I have no why the music coming on. Why the music coming on? That's right. But to sum it up, they're going to look at your constituents and be like, I've been voting Democrat this whole time. Look at my neighborhood. Now, I look at red neighborhoods and how clean and how well protected they are. That's where I'm going to start voting. You're going to tell me how much those people over there hate me, but I don't care about the hate. What I care about is a safe living and a safe society. And when I look over there, I see safety. When I look over here, I see danger. And who is representing that danger? AOC from New York right now. And she's going to understand. They know they're getting together.
Important to hear from those voters. I'm glad you were there to get those reactions. Amisha, Trump has quite a history, of course, with minority communities, especially in New York City. I'm thinking Central Park 5, the allegations of discriminatory housing practices. What's your reaction to him demonizing immigrants to try to connect with these Black and Hispanic voters in New York?
It's disingenuous at best. Donald Trump and the Republican Party created the chaos he is hoping to benefit off of. When the Texas Governor Greg Abbott and when Florida Governor DeSantis decided that they were going to send migrants to cities like my hometown of Chicago, to New York and various other places across the country, they did it with 2024 in mind because they wanted to create this fight for resource allocation. They fundamentally understood that many Black people as well as brown people in these communities already were suffering from lack of housing supports, from food insecurity, from other issues. And they sought to create a more desperate situation and to have a population that would demonize new arrivals. I think that it is extremely disheartening. I would say that when talking to these voters in New York, there should have been more questions regarding or more comments about Trump's policies, because this isn't a rhetoric issue. Trump wanted to have the Central Park 5 actually murdered. He wanted to ensure that the state killed those young men. He wanted to ensure that, Black people did not have a space in the buildings that he had across the state of New York.
That's not true. In case anybody out there don't know, go and look up Donald Trump giving an apartment to a Black woman for over 10 years and feeding her 2 square meals a day. I know they don't want to tell you that about Trump, but you got to do your research. But listen, I just told you, go do your research.
Cases, he's also pushed for anti-civil rights legislation. We've already seen what Project 2025 looks like. And for Black people and brown people across this country, it is an assault on our rights and an assault on our very being. That's what we should be talking about here.
She is 100% wrong. And like the energy and emotion she's putting behind throwing this rhetoric out is no longer going to work and serve on Black men. It's a done deal. Because we already seeing that y'all brought in migrants and gave them resources that we have been begging for years. What Black and brown communities, low-income communities have been begging for years. Housing, computers, food, you know what I'm saying? Money. Debbie, you went and gave it all to migrants on the snap of a finger. I've seen more money flood into the hands of non-citizens in these last 4 years than in the history of my life, even more than the pandemic. Way more than stimulus checks. And everybody in the hood that's looking at busted schools, busted street corners, gang-ridden environments, underdeveloped housing was like, wait a minute, where all this money come from? Y'all had it the whole time? So when you are talking to migrants, legal migrants within the communities, they're like, these resources were meant for us to have better lives, and they were given to us. We would have been more welcoming to the illegal migrants in the community. But for her to not to notice that we see that, and she's still gonna shoot this rhetoric like Trump's orchestrating, bringing in this stuff for. I can't. It's hard for me to even like repeat the lies, but we must debunk them. We must continue.
This is not a rhetorical game. This is a man who has plans in place and a man who appointed judges who will make this happen.
Matthew, Dasha mentioned.
God. That's another thing. All judges are appointed by somebody, whether it's Democrat or Republican president. And Trump gets in office and he does the same thing that every president has done in the history of time, and now they're all Trump judges. And all judges that have to be mentioned underneath that tag now, oh, that's a Trump judge. Shouldn't we do that to all Democratic judges? But they won't do that because then they have to have accountability for their own words. It's only one way aggression. And that the Democrats don't understand why people like me have left the party for good, because they're doubling and tripling down on the lies and the gaslighting. And this Trump rally is only going to prove it more. Let's just watch the hypocrisy.
How the economy was top of mind for a lot of these voters she was speaking with. And Trump did use an economic message as part of his appeal to this crowd, a very dark message about the impact of inflation. Take a listen.
African Americans are getting slaughtered. Hispanic Americans are getting slaughtered. They're the ones that are affected most by what's happening. Not only the fact that you've lost the use of your schools, your parks, and your hospitals. Joe Biden's inflation.
Mm-hmm. In the middle of Bronx, homie, you can't stop that.
Matthew, is that a message you think could work with these voters who otherwise are a lot less likely to support someone like Trump?
Look at their faces. Look at the faces. The deep, like, it's really starting to help me understand that they are clueless about us. Clueless. Wherever purse they're sitting from or wherever keyboard they're sitting in front of, they haven't went out and talked to people. Man, and in their own districts at that. Oh man, let's just screenshot this. I should use this for a thumbnail.
Well, it's interesting, and I was reflecting on this conversation as we go to the economy. In a time where people feel the economy's troubled, unfortunately, in our American history, this is unfortunate, two things happen. A strong man emerges, or a strong personality emerges. One, that people are willing to vest powers that they normally shouldn't in, and this has happened in the United States and around the world. And then the other thing they do, what happens is there's an appeal, unfortunately, to a group in America who may have come over here as immigrants, and I'm a son or grandson of an Irish immigrant, who then begin to blame others along the way. It doesn't matter who that, okay, this is the problem. You might have come here, but it's those other people that are a problem in here. And where our economy is troubled, even though the facts of the economy, when you lay it out with unemployment and the growth of the economy compared to other European economies, we're fine. People, because of inflation, don't.
Once again, here we go with this man. He's not going to talk about the thousands of layoffs across the country, saying unemployment is high. Creating government jobs does not solve unemployment. All it does is make the problem longer down the run because they don't create anything. That's all that's been going on here. When you look down at true unemployment, it's across the board. People aren't working. And YouTube jobs don't, come on, man. This YouTube government jobs and all that stuff, and on top of all that, they're not reporting everything correctly. They don't. They inflate numbers. And we all know this now. We can look around and see. And then we look at you guys and see a lie. I don't know how it's become like a broken record. I'm tired of saying it.
Feel it. Unfortunately, as I said, in times of troubled economy, there's an audience in America that can be appealed to by a strong man and blaming the other. And the other thing I'll note is that he never, on his sort of English, why people all speak all different language, I noticed he never speaks about the problem of somebody speaking Norwegian or somebody speaking Swedish or somebody speaking Danish.
Yes, because he's speaking to the actual minorities. Look at this guy. They're trying to find somebody. Like, We got to make Trump enemies somewhere. This just talk about this so then the region to be mad at him and the Switzerland to be mad at him. No, he's in the Bronx talking to the people in the Bronx. There ain't that many Norwegians in them there. I saw the whole rally. It was mostly Latinos and brown, Puerto Ricans. There's just people of color, man. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, they are always trying to make this guy something.
It's either Latin America, Mexico, or Africa, which is a pretty strong signal of what he means.
Dasha, are these voters just not offended at all by those types of comments and some of the actions he took as president?
Yeah, no, I will say I talked to these voters about the Central Park Five. I talked to them about some of the comments that he's made and the policies beyond rhetoric, right? They are just so focused on what their lives are like right now, what they can feel tangibly, that when I push back with those comments, they shut that down. They said, listen, he might say some things. Again, they focused on the rhetoric.
And this is the funny thing, like, they're trying to push this agenda onto Trump voters so they don't see Trump's policies. You just think on the ground. I'm watching all of my resources go to other people. Just look at it from the ground. I'm telling them that I need things, and they're telling me to get in the line behind illegals. This is happening on the ground, and then on top of it, they're telling us that I'm racist for not wanting them here, that I'm now guilty of not being a humanitarian. So they take my resources from me, give them to people that are not illegally, ask me to continue to work and continue to pay taxes, tell me that I'm racist. Tell me that I'm racist because I don't want to give my hard-earned money to people that don't deserve it, and then don't listen to any of my concerns, and then they wonder how Trump's getting this type of energy inside of deep blue states. It's not even rocket science, but they're so like genuinely lost. Look, they're so genuinely lost.
Still, because they feel like that's what the media sort of, consistently puts out there. They say he might say some stuff that's offensive, but at the end of the day, I feel like my life was better under former President Trump than under President Biden. And I take all of the points that we're hearing here, but this is what I hear from voters consistently. And we see this reflected in the data as we're seeing these numbers of Black and Hispanic voters sort of getting chipped away from the Democratic Party and moving towards Trump. A lot can happen in the next 6 months, but I just see this consistently as I talk to these demographics.
Matthew, you brought up strong men, and here's what Trump said about authoritarian leaders last night.
When you see President Xi of China, when you see Kim Jong-un of North Korea, when you see Putin, and you see all of these people, they're at the top of their game, whether you like it or not.
And now here's the Biden campaign's new ad this morning, narrated by Robert De Niro.
Desperately trying to hold on to power. Now he's running again, this time threatening to be a dictator, to terminate the Constitution.
If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Trump wants revenge.
They just keep lying to us, man.
Matthew, we have reporting.
I'm serious, dude. Like, at some point, do they realize that we know? At the bottom, like, all of us normal humans, those us who live check to check, are not stupid. We're educated. We're more educated than we've ever been because everything we want's at our fingertips, and it's up to us just to choose the research. And for so long, we ran on emotions. Now a lot of us just sit and research everything you say. You guys made me turn this way. And you continually to do a horrible job. And on the stage right now, when all you had to do was to be honest to your constituents about why Trump was there, you continually to attack the voters, gaslight us, and then completely misconstrue his words. Look how they threw this clip in. This is NBC, man. This is so interesting.
The Biden campaign's planning to get even more aggressive against Trump, especially after his trial. Is this kind of messaging effective?
I think it's the only way to lay out this election, which is not a fundamental conservative versus liberal or left versus right. This is fundamentally an election about, are you pro-democracy or are you pro-autocracy? And I find the juxtaposition of Donald.
The only people who make that argument are liberals and progressives. Conservatives don't make this argument at all. Maybe you get some rhinos out there, but the rhinos are falling far between because their constituents are eating them alive. That's why you see a whole lot of Republicans quiet. The ones that are loud are the ones that are supporting the right cause. The ones that are quiet is because their constituents are up their butts, because they're telling them to change, and they're just trying to ride out their terms. That's why Mitch McConnell left. But it's another story. But there's infighting on the left, and it's not on us. They've picked the arguments. They don't understand what's going on. But watch this guy try to make this. Oh.
Trump's comments yesterday and our discussion today so amazing that we're going into Memorial Weekend where hundreds of thousands of men and women died to preserve democracy in America and fight against dictatorships and autocracy across the country as we celebrate those men and women in this country. And here we have the rise of somebody who has been very clear that he wants to be an authoritarian in the likes of Vladimir Putin and others around the world. And that, to me, what fundamentally this election needs to be about. I understand people are suffering in the economy and inflation and all that, but the Biden campaign, the Biden administration, and I would argue all of us need to say that we feel for that in the midst of this, but right now our democracy is at stake.
Oh my God! There you go. Listen. If anybody is on the fence right now, y'all got to make sure y'all go and listen to this video. Go watch the Trump rally for yourself. Then go through and watch all mainstream liberal media and hear them talk like this. This is crazy. It's always protect democracy. They are completely destroying democracy while they say they're trying to protect it. That's why, just look at it for what it is. These are all scammers. It has nothing to do with Trump or Xi Jinping. No, there's presidents across the globe that did a better job than we did at the pandemic. And there's presidents that do a better job of taking care of their citizens than we do. And I can understand that. And I'm a nationalist myself. So anybody that want to talk about protecting our borderies and our sovereignties, I am for it. And they are not for that. They are completely willing to destroy this shit. And then ask these people a question. What are you going to do with all these immigrants? They didn't come up through our school and our work system, all of military age. What are you going to do with them? Where are you going to put them to work? Because we don't want to work here. We need the jobs. What are you going to do? They ain't got no wife. They're going about this. We need to save democracy. No, Trump is saving democracy by giving the rights and the liberties back to the constitutional republic and the individual of me as a citizen. All the rights that are afforded to me, while all of you are giving them to other people's and then pushing your money to the elites. And it's, you know what I want to say.
Our reporting goes on to say that Biden's team views the end of Trump's trial as a pivotal moment, an inflection point, one at which the minute-by-minute sideshow of courtroom drama has concluded and the time for voters to focus on what's at stake in November has arrived. Donald
Trump is going to win the presidency from prison. Listen, y'all don't really understand that. That's how much he got the vote of the people. We'll vote for him in jail. Because we know that all of these court cases are a sham. Y'all keep throwing it in front of our face. 96 indictments, four impeachment, you know what I'm trying to say. 4 of them. We've watched the cases. We paid attention. You guys got us involved in the media during the pandemic. The Amber Heard Johnny thing. The ball dropped with the media during Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Y'all don't get that. And now we're here with Trump and y'all still doing the same things like we can't go research it. We know everything is a sham. We understand the timing of when you brought the charges. We understand when you're saying he did these things. Everything is a sham. You're trying to lock up an innocent man and you're using lawfare against him. And it's sad. And you guys are misusing the country. You guys are damaging democracy. Especially this guy right here. Whoever this guy is. Remember this, Americans. Remember these people. Remember these faces when it comes time to vote, because these people need to be sitting on their butts broke for what they're allowing this country to be.
I think that's the case. And what does that mean then if you are inside the Biden campaign right now?
I think that's more of a campaign message than it is a voter message. Voters have been focused on what matters in this election process for quite some time. That's why the economy will always be a ticker point for them. They are concerned with that. They are concerned with...
All right. The video ended right there. As you can see, when it comes to other mainstream media, they completely are missing the point on why the rally was so successful, why the message is getting out. And I'm definitely telling you this, Donald Trump, come here and do one in Los Angeles. Same game plan, because we need you out here. Because we need what the Bronx rally did is brought a bunch of Trump supporters together in one group that never would have talked to each other because we get shamed so hard. And the thing needs to happen out here in California, so I can find people just like me on my starter into my journey into becoming a conservative, so that I can find support, because I don't really find it. I'm stuck here in the middle of Venice and Santa Monica. It is blue-haired haven out here, man. You even bring up, I've been called the worst names. But it's all right. I'm stronger than that. God bless my father. My father's a Marine, by the way. You know what I'm saying? I want to be very happy and thankful that we get to be at this part in history and get to witness the downfall of so much evil in this country that's coming from the left. So I'm going to keep reporting on this. Dude, they're so... Just go on liberal websites and just watch them just lie about the rally. It's insane. But thanks everybody else from watching me today. Now you get to see how the other side is treating us. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. I thank you so much. I'm on my road to 500 subscribers. I'm going to get there soon. And as always, chef's kiss.